Alright, so first thing I do on these paper clips is just grab this part right here and just pull it out a little bit, and then I trace around it, I guess you could call it, at the curve. Move it just a little bit at a time. It's just easier to keep it straight, or not completely straight, but when you get little bends like that, that's what the steel block's for. You can open this up a little bit with your fingers, and then just go around those curves with pliers and get it as flat as possible. Now, I'm not doing very good on this one. I've done a lot better on some of the other ones, but I'm going to do this up above the camera right now so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, it's not pretty. That's perfect for the video. You get a curve like this right here. You can use whatever flat hammer you have. I have this steel block, and it's a perfectly flat end, so I use it. Kind of watch it and find the bends in it and flatten those bends down. And that's pretty much it with straightening it out till you get it all the way as straight as you can handle it. I mean, it can get tedious, irritating. Right there, see, I hit right there and it brings it up down here. Go back and forth with it, trying to find that spot where it's arching it. I'm going to go ahead and move down to the next one. Push it down. Knock those bends out. Mark my lengths that I want to cut with a fine point Sharpie, by the way, permanent, and I blow on it real quick and let it dry so I don't rub it off. That helps a lot. When I cut the lengths, I try to make my marks on the side where I need the piece, and I cut all of the ink off as much as possible, so I make my mark right on the outside of the length that I need, and I keep it as absolutely close to perfect measurement as I can get it with I use calipers and these little rulers and stuff like this. It's got the micro marks on them. I don't know what they're. Stupid glare. Anyway, flash. I get my marks as close as I can, and then cut them as close as I can to be on. I mean, you got to get them really, really tight fitting. And that's a lot straighter than it was, but it's still got a bend here. I can actually do this with my finger, straighten that out. Well, anyway, when you get your paper clip straight, then you start figuring out what shapes you want, what length you need, get all that dealt with, and I've already got my soldering iron heated up here. I'm using just electrical flux, electrical solder. Silver bearing, lead free. I don't think, yeah, rosin core. So I pull out just a little bit, leave it sitting here, and let's see, I'll find a couple of little scrap pieces just to show. Here's a little cut piece off of the end of one, and we'll take this little piece of I don't know, it's a stick. I think it was an incense stick. Rub just a tiny little bit of flux on it, and I've got a small spot of solder right here that was used. I get my soldering iron dirty and hot. Don't drop that. That just happened. I have no idea if I lost my video. No, I didn't. Cool. Well, sorry you got to see me drop my phone on my foot. Yay. That's why I don't make these videos on camera usually, but I don't mind. Pick up this solder that fell off. Alright. You don't have to pre-solder the pieces like this. But when you do, you can see the solder sticks just fine. I'll use my towel and wipe off the flux. Get it to focus. And now I will use a pair of hemostats. I'm not going to be able to really do much on this video, but I can show a basic. Now I'm going to use another piece of scrap here. Let's see, this one will do just fine. Same process. Add a little flux to it. Doesn't take very much. Go all the way around it, so you know you got a good joint. And I'm just going to put this right here to show how easy this is. I'm not even going to put any extra solder on the tip. Just melt what's here. It should get a bite. And that is soldered. I mean, I can break that off if I wanted to. It's not a perfect joint, but that's all it takes. Just a little heat on it, and it comes off that easy too. Right back on. So when it comes to using brass, I am going to show this real quick. Let's see. Here's a piece of scrap brass and my other set of hemostats. I am not about to hold this with my fingers. The paper clips get hot pretty fast, so you can let go of them pretty quick, so you can kind of get away with using your fingers. I do have some burns and stuff from them, so be careful. But with the brass, oh man, no, no. I'm showing you the blister right there that I popped the other day. No. I'll show you the tip of my fingers. Those are burns from holding on to paper clips while soldering. Okay, so this is possibly going to come loose when I put this on here. I've got flux on this brass now. You're not going to be able to most likely get a good solid joint with a soldering iron. I'll try it real quick though. If you do, you've got a really good soldering iron. I'll show, you know, putting the solder on the brass. It's on there. It's on there. But to heat it up, usually in a big joint like I had to do on my monster truck right here. I'm calling it a monster, it's a mega truck, but that brass right there, it took a lot of heat to get all that solder to flow around it. So I'm going to try this now. You heat up the brass. I didn't flex and solder this end. My bad. Just throw some on there real quick. Alright. Give me a touch more solder. We'll do that. Oh, that actually took pretty good. Usually on big joints, that's actually solid enough I could break that paper clip off. Yep. Okay. Well, what I was going to show is this. I use disposable lighters a lot on the brass parts, but I can do it on this too. It's going to heat that up real fast. There it is. That's why I don't like using it though. It makes a weaker joint on the two pieces here because of the char. It blackens the flux. And then gotta clean it all off. You see, we're back to a good joint. It's not super strong, but you can triangulate your chassis like I did on this one, and man, they come out solid. I mean, this thing does not twist at all. And I literally, I will do this. Let me go pick that up. Only spot that bent was this single piece right here. The chassis is fine. Set it up here. No bends. That single piece back here on the back corner was the only one that bent, and that was barely, just barely. Straight this way, straight this way. You see it bent down just a tiny bit, and I can fix that part with my thumb. Up a little too high. But everywhere else, this thing is solid. So when you're doing pieces, I mean, you can see the brass in here. I flowed a bunch of solder on the back, and then I used my Dremel and this bit right here. It's kind of like a router bit to go around inside here and open that back up a little and get some of that solder out, so my transmission skid plate will fit back in there. The screws won't have any problems. But yeah, that's the simplest way I could think to show you. I'm knocking everything over. I wish it would focus better. There. So, like I said, and if you make a mistake, it's this easy. just desolder it. Heat it up, desolder it. You can use a needle file of any shape basically, and clean off the solder joint and start over. Like the Willys, I just took the stinger bar off the front because I've been working on the inner structure of the chassis. I've got my main chassis rails in here now, and trying to figure out how to, I've got some braces going all the way across and stuff, and trying to figure out exactly how I want to do it. But I noticed that my front was crooked, and I mean, I'm gonna beat this thing up. I don't care if it's a little bit crooked, but it was way off. Not the front end. The front end was okay, but the stinger was way off. And then when I got the stinger off, I realized my upper shock mounts, front shock mounts, they're off a little. So I'm probably gonna desolder these and pull them in a little, and fix that problem. But yeah, I got a nice drop on the transmission mount here. So tons of axle clearance and shock clearance for tall shocks. It's going to be interesting. It's really short wheelbase compared to that. So anyway, that's all I'm going to be able to show for now. If I can figure out how to get a better setup for my videos, I'd be able to show a lot more, because there are a lot of different processes I'm doing here to get this done. Like the block and the magnets, you know, that's my spacing, and the magnets are an amazing help at, do 2 on one side here. Sorry for the crappy video tonight. 2 on one side, 1 on the other. Come on now. Is my spacing on your Landus. That is the right width. So and then after you get everything soldered up and filed and smoothed off, you use a wire brush on a Dremel rotary tool and leave it sticking out as much as possible. I usually put this much inside my chuck, about 1/4 inch, and leave about that much sticking out. That way I can reach all over inside it. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get back on it later, tomorrow sometime. I gotta get some sleep. So, just thought I'd show that real quick, and hopefully doing this on camera the way I just did will help people figure out how to do it. It's really not that difficult to figure out the shapes you want, and then just figure out, it's more of a process of figuring out how to get them to stay where you want them, to be honest. So I use tweezers, I use needle nose pliers, whatever I can get them positioned with, magnets. So it was just kind of luck of the draw that these magnets and this little block that I use for hammering them flat actually is the right width. 2 magnets on one side and 1 on the other. So, but anyway, we cut the video off. It's 19 minutes long already. So thanks for the views, subscriptions, comments, likes, everything. Appreciate it. It gives me motivation to get back to doing stuff different.